To an untrained eye, Apple's TV show Your Friends and Neighbors is a high-stakes crime drama driven by vanity and social expectations. But to a psychiatrist, it is a deep psychological exploration of personality disorders, and at the root of it is a narcissistic mother. You all know Andrew Cooper, who goes by Coop. He was a very successful hedge fund manager with lots of money, and all of a sudden he loses his wife to his friend, he loses his family, his job, and to maintain his social status, he doesn't tell anyone, and to maintain his lifestyle, he starts robbing his rich neighbors. It seems as if his actions are driven mainly by greed and vanity, but I'd argue that it is probably driven mainly by fear of abandonment. See, he is terrified of losing his friends if they find out that he is not rich anymore. He's probably right about most of his friends. And he doesn't share this information with his supportive ex-wife because he probably is scared of her abandoning him once again. Well, a lot of people may lose their job and even find their wife unfaithful to them. But not everyone crushes so fast and so deep. Well, why did it happen to Coop? That is because he only has one identity, a rich provider. If he is not rich and not a provider, who is he? He kind of lost his personality, his identity. And who does this happen to? Well, to people with personality disorders. So what kind of personality disorders does Coop have? On the surface, Coop appears to be very narcissistic. He is self-centered, ignorant to other people's needs and emotions. He turns down the only job opportunity he had because it was beneath him. But I'd argue that in his core, at the root of it, he actually follows a borderline personality dynamic, but with the caveat that it is a male version. You may know already that a lot of personality disorders stem from family dynamics, and borderline personality disorder in particular from emotional invalidation. So, interestingly enough, Coop's sister Ali seemed to repeat similar borderline personality dynamic, but more kind of female, more vulnerable version. I'll explain later what I mean by different gender presentations, and of course it's not exclusive to any particular gender. But for now, let's see why Coop and Ali develop borderline personality disorder traits. I believe it is because their family dynamics as they were growing up. It is because their mother Marley, who I believe is quite narcissistic. In the first 7 episodes, we see only a few glimpses of Coop's and Alice's parents and their mother, but they are quite telling. Even one example, when Coop wakes up from coma in a hospital, the only comment that Marley makes, or the first comment that Marley makes, is that he had been given too much morphine.
Hi, Daddy.
Hey, kiddo.
How you feeling?
Pretty good, actually.
That's because the doctors gave you all that morphine.
Hon.
What? I saw it was too much.
Well, somehow it kind of sounds as if it was Coop's fault that he was given too much morphine while he was unconscious. And what does it even mean, too much? I can imagine in a hospital, a nurse comes into the room and she uses the syringe with how many milliliters of liquid. So Marley has no idea how many milligrams. What that means is that to Marley, any kind of morphine, any kind of painkiller given to her son is too much. That is because she expects Coop to be able to deal with any kind of pain without any kind of support. What this one comment illustrates is their environment as they were growing up. They probably got very little affection and support from their cold narcissistic mother. So they did have each other to rely on, but they couldn't meet this totally unrealistic expectations that mother set for them. So they probably constantly felt as if they were a failure. In many families, one parent can compensate for the drawbacks of another, but that didn't happen in Coop's and Alice's family. Their father seemed to be unable to stand up to their mother. In one scene, when Mel, Coop's ex-wife, meets Marley at the grocery store, and Marley makes Mel feel as if she is a horrible mother and just walks away.
Mel!
Hey, Ron! Marley!
How are our perfect grandkids?
Did you hear Tori won her tournament?
We did. We heard all about it. Congratulations.
We're so proud.
It's remarkable, really, how resilient she is.
You should come to her next match.
Invite us and we'll come.
Oh, I'm sorry. I assumed your son had invited you.
It's fine. Tori called afterwards and she sent me a picture.
Aw.
I told her she could always come by our place if she needed a break from all the chaos.
What chaos?
She didn't mean chaos.
Pretty sure she did. What chaos, Marley? You know something I don't know?
I'm just not as close to it as you are.
No, you're not.
I think you forgot to grab the oatmeal.
She didn't mean any of that the way it sounded.
Oh, yes, she did.
I guess what I meant was, she doesn't mean to be the way she is.
Her husband just kind of brushes it off, making it sound as if it's not a big deal, and Marley just, she is who she is. So essentially, neither of the parents provided affection and show that they care about their kids and love them. Why is affection so important? That is biologically driven. That is something we develop through evolution. Because, see, humans need at least the first decade of constant support of their parents. Otherwise, they would just die. So when we turn about 12, we may be able to physically survive with the right guidance, but not really before then. So when parents show us their support, their love, and their affection, they basically reassure our deep core, our instincts, that we are safe and that someone will take care of us. So essentially, a question of affection is a question of survival, quite literally. So how little Coop and Ali survived their childhood emotional desert? They did so by developing different survival strategies. Neither of them really had this deep understanding who they are, so they had to draw from the outside world and get some sort of feedback from their parents. Since Coop did not have a positive male father model in the family, he had to draw this image from the societal kind of cliche of a stoic man who never shows his emotions, who is very good provider, strong and defender of the family. And he just hoped that if he never makes mistake or never shows his emotions or share his weakness, his mother maybe then shows a little bit of affection for him. Ali, on the other hand, developed different survival strategy. She had Coop to rely on, being vulnerable and emotional is more acceptable to females in our society than males, so she developed this identity of being vulnerable, emotional, and helpless, and she hoped that her family would not dare to abandon her because it was so obvious that she would not survive without them. So as they were growing up, Coop developed this core belief about himself that as long as he is a breadwinner, provider, and doesn't show his weaknesses and emotions, people will stick around and care about him. And Ali developed a core belief that she only can get support if she is exceptionally helpless and vulnerable. So both of them were terrified of kind of stepping out of that comfort zone in fear of losing support and love of people around them. We can see this childhood dynamics play out through their entire lives. So Coop continues to be a provider and a defender, and Ali continues to be helpless and vulnerable. Interestingly, Ali is the only person who Coop feels comfortable sharing his vulnerabilities and his secrets. And I think because subconsciously, deep inside, he feels as if Ali is so helpless and so dependent on him that she will never leave, so he feels comfortable sharing with her without fear of abandonment. Now you can see that in the environment created by a narcissistic cold mother and emotionally absent father, poor Coop and Ali did not have any other choice than develop borderline personality traits. For those who ever wondered if they were or being raised by a narcissistic parent, I put together a questionnaire that you can download from the link posted in the description. Just share your email for my future newsletter, and you can take the questionnaire and see for yourself. We can see another quite typical borderline personality dynamic with Ali. So see, she started stalking and pursuing her ex-fiancé. And when does it happen? Well, when Coop is at his lowest. So somewhere subconsciously, she believes she needs someone to take care of her, and Coop may not be able at some point. So it is as if she is looking for an alternative backup plan. You may say, well, maybe that is because Ali has bipolar disorder. Well, interestingly, some people with mild bipolar disorder may be misdiagnosed as borderline personality disorder, and people with borderline personality disorder often get misdiagnosed as bipolar disorder. To be honest, we do not really see strong evidence of Ali having bipolar disorder. You'd say, well, she had a psychotic break. The word borderline really means that people with this condition are capable of developing brief psychotic episodes, and if ever Ali would develop a psychotic episode as a person with BPD, that would be at her wedding, at the time of significant identity transition from single to married. And that exactly when she had her only psychotic break mentioned in the TV show. Ali may also have bipolar disorder on top of BPD. Maybe we do not see the symptoms because she's taking her medications. What I often see in our practice, though, people who have BPD often stop their medications when they feel abandoned, in a way kind of make them even more vulnerable and helpless because they become physically sick. So as the show progresses, we might actually see Ali stopping her medications and developing a manic or psychotic episode. I keep talking about borderline personality disorder without mentioning formal diagnosis according to DSM-5 list of diagnoses. I think it is outside the scope of this video, but if you go through the list, you'll see that they would meet criteria. But interestingly, as I mentioned, Coop and Ali on the surface appear to be very different. At the root, they may have fear of abandonment, and that is in their frantic attempt to avoid this abandonment, they develop different strategies. One may ask a reasonable question: how Coop and Ali, being so different, actually meet criteria for the same condition? And that is because BPD may present in very different ways. If you work out math between the 5 required criteria out of 9, plus other caveats in the diagnosis, you realize that there is a possibility of about 256 different variations of BPD. It just in the show, Coop and Ali seem to be quite different on the spectrum. Let's speculate what would have happened if Coop or Ali showed up for a psychiatric assessment with someone like me. Well, to Coop, I would recommend starting with individual psychotherapy because he doesn't have a lot of trust, and it is easier to develop trust with one person. He showed that he can, under certain circumstances, develop trust to Ali and share some of his deep secrets. So him paying out of pocket for a therapist can give them that security and reassurance that the therapist cannot depend on him, at least financially, and then he can open up and show his emotions, and then the therapist in turn can help him to work through some of his feelings. For Ali, I would probably recommend starting with DBT group therapy when she can see other people struggle with similar issues, develop more confidence that she can take care of herself and her own emotions, accept herself better, and hopefully build up to more emotional independence. Churchill once said, "Don't waste a good crisis." But I think Coop and Ali are going to waste their crisis because it was their opportunity to change, to look inside, to reevaluate their lives and possibly find their true identity. But instead, they trying to force themselves back into previous identities. So Coop started robbing their neighbors to maintain a facade of a successful provider. And Ali is trying to find alternatives to Coop to take care of her emotionally. I guess at this point, we'll have to watch and see. So make sure you leave a comment if you have any questions. Don't forget to take a questionnaire if you're curious. Look for the link in the description. And thank you very much for watching. Come back for more. Bye-bye.